Hey everyone, this is John from Bell Wine Cellars again. We're here for the third installment of our vineyard visit series. We are here at about 1,050 to 1,100 feet on the northeast flank of Howell Mountain, visiting our Clone 6 Cabernet Vineyard. It's amazing appellation. Howell Mountain is very large, very diverse, very rugged. There are some pristine, beautiful sites to be found. There are some that are a lot more challenging. This particular vineyard has more of an eastern exposure, so we get lots of morning and early afternoon sunlight that tapers off towards the late afternoon. So it does get pretty warm on this side of Howell Mountain, but that's a good thing. That really helps to ripen the Cabernet, whereas some of the more central Howell Mountain vineyard sites are a lot more shaded, or really it's challenging, especially if the year is a cooler one. So out here, this site is actually a very early Cabernet site. In fact, some of the blocks around ours have been picked already. This will probably be picked right around the 1st of September, or between there and Labor Day. So it's coming up soon. And behind me is our Clone 6 vineyard back there on that slope, that little crest. Wonderful fruit. This is one of the clones and one of the vineyards that really make it worth investing in better equipment at the winery. And the reason is that we can actually introduce grape sorting, especially optical sorting at the winery, because Clone 6 makes clusters that are very sparse, and if you can see from there, some of them are a little undercolored or undersized and still green. Those berries all need to get sorted out before we introduce them to the fermenter and make the wine, because all the rest of the berries are beautiful, very concentrated. Clone 6 berries are small with thick skin, lots of seeds, so there's not much liquid in there. That makes a very concentrated wine, and that's what Clone 6 is known for, being very concentrated yet not aggressive. The tannins, when ripe, are very silky and smooth but saturating on the palate. Great soils, a mix of loamy, almost sandy soils, well drained, stresses the vines out quite a bit, but that's what they need to make very concentrated grapes. That's its response to its environment. Beautiful site, pretty remote. It was quite a ride getting in here, a lot of ups and downs, four-wheel drive frequently necessary, but it makes it a very special site, and a special story too, to one of our most important wines, the Clone 6 Cabernet. Hey everyone, we're back at home base, our winery in Yountville. I actually have a little map here to show where we were up on Howell Mountain looking at our Clone 6 Cabernet. We've got this map here, and you can see Napa Valley starts down in the south near San Pablo Bay, and it works its way more or less north-south, but then turns to the northwest. So we were up here on Howell Mountain on this eastern flank of it. So a little bit sunnier, a little bit warmer up in here towards the Pope Valley area right here, but certainly above Napa Valley proper and towards the northern end of the valley. So as you work your way north away from San Pablo Bay and the Bay Area, it gets more continental. Warmer climate, hotter days, colder nights, while the temperature down here closer to the bay is more moderate and usually a lot more fog influenced in the mornings. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Clone 6, one of our favorite wines, and show you some of the differences between the clones. We talk about them, but some of you may have seen these before, but some of these are pictures. This is Clone 6, and you may remember the clusters being very loose, very small berries. You can't quite get an idea about the size here because of just the picture size, but they are very small berries in general, very concentrated. These loose clusters are always great because you get very even ripening of the berries themselves. They're not pushing on each other or shading each other, and very, very small, a lot of skin, very thick skins, lots of stuff in them, which is what we like for the red wine. Definitely one of the most age-worthy of the different clones of Cabernet. And when I say clones, these are not genetically modified in any way. All it is people selecting them over decades and even centuries, noticing that one vineyard block would do really well every year, while the adjacent one would not do as well. So when it's time to plant a new vineyard, which wood do we pick? We pick the wood from the successful vineyard. And after doing that many times, you've isolated a clone. And this has been done for many, many decades in conjunction with the universities in Bordeaux, UC Davis. All of that development has happened over many, many, many years. And they chose the Rutherford Bench, where we get some of our best grapes, as a testing ground for a lot of that. So a lot of these clones, and the ones that were chosen as the best clones, were decided upon in Rutherford, on the Rutherford Bench, because that's some prime land for growing high-end cab. If you can't grow a clone there, you can't grow it anywhere. But anyway, just as a comparison, we look at clone 4. Clone 4 has tighter clusters, bigger berries, more prone to uneven ripening or greener flavors, more of the bell pepper, if grown in cooler areas where it can't, or in a cooler year when it can't ripen properly. But when grown very well in some of the best spots in the middle of the valley, like Rutherford or Oakville, or even the mountain spots, it can be beautiful. Clone 7, another one that's kind of similar to 4, tends to be, what I like about 4 and 7 is they really taste like cab. They're really very cab-like, the classic cassis, some of the herbal tones, while Clone 6 is definitely a very dark-fruited, fruit-forward version of Cabernet, and doesn't usually have as many of the herbal tones or any of the bell pepper. Clone 337, which is also one of our favorites, this is one also bigger berries, and for Cabernet anyway, larger berries than Clone 6, tighter clusters, but they grow kind of in a cylinder, and you can see that it just looks different on the vine. But I love how, when grown in the right spot, Clone 337 can have wonderful silky tannins and a very distinct aroma. So they all have their strengths and weaknesses depending on where they're grown, but we choose our vineyard sites based on where those clones do well. And that Howell Mountain site always makes very concentrated cabs. This Clone 6 is always beautiful dark fruit, a lot of cassis in there, and it's a very saturated wine, very age-worthy. Tends not to show as well as the other ones right when we release it, which would be about 3 years after the vintage date. But after a couple years, they're beautiful, and they do very well in the cellar. I love to see at least 5 or 6 years on them, but they can go decades. But for me, I always enjoy that 6 to 10 year time zone for the big Napa cabs, and especially Clone 6, because that's when it really shows its true colors and everything has come together. All those pieces have integrated. The oak, the fruit, the acidity, everything's become balanced. And that's the fun part about the winemaking, is making that wine and really honing in on where is this wine going to go? How is it going to develop? And that's the fun part. Just really creating something that's going to live a long time, but still be approachable when we release it. So hope you get a chance to come and try our Clone 6. All right, thank you. Take care.